Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, Square Enix refuses to reveal the full name of the next Dragon Quest game that we'll have to repeat in its entirety. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including a new Nintendo store coming to San Francisco. And then on Thursday, we are predicting the June Nintendo Direct with some very special guests. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. That the cold open about Dragon Quest made me think that maybe if we end up committing ourselves to saying the full name, we should have of whatever the new Dragon Quest game ends up being. We should have a 1 in, 1 out policy. So possibly we retire our obligation.
I understand.
I mean, we give it a full, send off, a 21 gun salute. We compress its ashes into life diamonds and wear it around our wrist as friendship bracelets forever and ever. Like, we would, of course, do all of that. But maybe we only force ourselves. This is a maybe.
That with one,
to do that with one Dragon Quest game at a time. And then when Dragon Quest 12 comes out, we would retire this one, of course, with a 21 gun salute.
And all the same stuff. And then we're just covered in diamonds. But I mean, I will agree to that if and only if there's like at least 9 words in the title of the next game.
That's a good point.
Like, it needs to be a mouthful, or it doesn't feel like it counts.
We almost have to hedge our bets.
Yeah.
Because they might release the first version of it.
Yes.
And then a
second version. Right. I think for sure, whatever the next long Dragon Quest mainline title that it has to be a game that we're playing, right? Can't just be like a game. There will be another. And at that point, I say that's when we have this conversation again.
I think we just have to. You're right. We have to let it happen naturally. We're just stones in a Dragon Quest river.
That's right.
We have to let it wash over us.
Right. We can't try to like warp ourselves out of these things. Right. We got to just let them happen to us. And not try to force a change, Mark.
Force the change.
But when we do eventually force the change, we will.
21 gun salute.
21 gun salute.
We'll compress its ashes into diamonds, wear them as friendship bracelets.
If you would like to support our diamond habit, our reckless diamond habit, you can go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society.
I panicked. I jumped in.
It's all right.
Like it was our email address.
It's good. There's an episode coming up where you mess one up too, and so I'm excited that now this is just like in the air. Patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you can get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries that we're putting out. We're making our way through NCS Arcade.
Yeah, where Patrick and I are playing games on Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack that we've never beaten before. And this month, we are going to be talking about Metroid for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
That's right. And if you have your thoughts, memories, questions about Metroid, email them to us. You can email them to us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we will include them. We will read them off and answer them or respond to them if they're not questions. If they're not questions, we can't possibly answer them on a supplemental episode that we put out a couple weeks later. So get those in. And you can also, share your thoughts about Metroid in the Discord. We just won't necessarily be able to collect all of that for the sort of feedback episode. Speaking of the Discord, if you want to get in there, email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will send you an invitation, and you can just be in there. It's a great place to be. And then my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle source book is available in stores now. Issues 1 and 2 are in comic book stores. Issue 3 is coming out June 5th. I can't believe how soon that is,
Perilously
Mark.
Close.
So close. Next week? What? So if you are interested in that, check out your comic book store. Issue 4 is the last one. and I think that's coming out like end of July. So pre-order that now if you want it.
Oh, we have a debug. So last week when we were talking about the GameCube game library, we had a little sidebar, little discussion about Nintendo remaking mainline Mario games. And we couldn't think of very many examples of that happening. Patrick brought up the Super Mario Advance series from the Game Boy Advance, and we kind of called it there. But Paul in the Discord reminded us Mario 64 DS was a remake of a mainline Mario game, and of course, that's such a good example.
A great example, and I mean, it is great in that it is an example. But like, what a weird, lumpy way to play Mario 64.
Yes, because there was no thumbstick, no really analog control of any kind.
You had to play with a
D-pad
and a run button.
And they tried to make up with it with some Yoshi, with some Wario.
Well, okay, but yes. So it is exciting that the game adds 3 additional characters. But insanely, you don't start the game as Mario. You have to unlock Mario. Is there another Mario game where you have to unlock Mario?
I don't remember that.
You start as Yoshi.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Which is just nuts.
I did not finish that remake because I bought it. I was super excited for it.
Me too.
It was the future. Nintendo 64 games in handheld
in the palm
form.
of your hand.
And that never happened really ever again.
Well, I mean, except you can play them on your Switch.
Or I meant like the DS did not turn into like a Nintendo 64 port machine in the way that like the Game Boy Advance had a ton of Super Nintendo and Nintendo Entertainment System games all over that thing.
It would really take until the 3DS, right? Because that's when we get like Star Fox 3D, 64 3D. That's where we get Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Just needed the next generation to finally be that.
Yeah. Needed that like little nub.
You need the little nub. Yeah. Well, so there was the little nub on the
circle pad.
The circle pad is
that's
what they
needed.
That's right. Even that is kind of a poor input device for analog controls. But what are you going to do? All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. I believe we have both been playing Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
Yeah.
Although I'm just going to get out in front of this and say I have not played very much.
I have not played very much either.
I have played about an hour.
Okay, yeah, I've played about an hour.
Okay, all right.
Here,
initial impressions then is maybe what we're gonna give here.
There's a reason for this. I guess that's what I'm allowed to say. There is a reason I've only been able to play an hour of it. Moving on, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. It is a beautiful looking game.
I absolutely agree with that, and I leading up to the release of the game, I was sort of like, who knows how much like touching up of the graphics they did here. It kind of seems like they redid it entirely, right? Like just like seeing how sharp all of like the paper graphics are, and like how many different points of articulation they have on them, is sort of astounding. It's a beautiful looking game.
It is really pretty. I think I am always curious about like remakes like this. What does it actually entail?
Sure.
Like, did they start from scratch? Is there some like source code that they're working from, and then they're building like a graphical layer on top of it? Like, I wonder what goes into something like this. Because it feels like more than Metroid Prime Remastered, where they improved the graphics in that a ton,
like with lighting and textures and stuff, right? Which I can at least wrap my head around what that means, right? It means making like a new lighting rig and drawing up new textures.
And I enjoyed the Origami King, the last Paper Mario game, a lot, but there's something fun about seeing all these kind of like uniquely designed takes on regular Mario characters.
Yeah, totally.
Just seeing, like Goombas with crazy eyes, Goombas wearing outfits, Koopa Troopas wearing outfits.
Yep.
I don't know, like that's something that the series has moved away from doing. And I think all the hallmarks of Paper Mario still exist, like the great writing and all that kind of stuff. But having those unique Mario characters was just a little something extra special, and it's fun to see it back in Thousand Year Door.
I will say that so far, and I'm again very early in the game, about an hour in. My biggest complaint is that the game, so far as I can tell, does not feature Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. And I've got this other remake of an RPG from 30 years ago that does feature Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. It's called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So look, I'm not done with that game yet. And I definitely crash landed myself into a place where there are 2 RPGs that I'm playing at once, and with a third one that is going to enter because of something else, and I'm starting to panic a little bit.
The momentum,
yes,
is such a real thing when you're playing RPGs, especially like
yes,
long, meaty RPGs, that I almost feel like you should put more time into Final Fantasy VII.
I should. I know, because like if I lose that, and also like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is so it's like it's actiony, right? So if I spend too much time away from it, I'm also going to forget how to play it. Whereas I don't think there's an amount of time long enough to make me forget how to play Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, right?
Right.
So I think you're right, and it pains me a little bit to be like, this brand new Nintendo game, brand new. It's
20 years.
It's 20 years old, but it's a fresh remake of it that I will probably like let sit for a little while so I can, exercise my dang old freak and keep playing Rebirth.
Yeah, I have some travel coming up, and so I'm bringing my Switch with me, and I'm hoping to be able to put some good quality time into Thousand Year Door.
Excellent. I'm excited for us to talk more about it in the future, but it'll be a couple weeks because, like you say, you got some travel coming up. Well, good. I also just wanted to call out that, and Nintendo has been doing this just sort of like periodically over the last couple months. But last week they made a bunch of amiibo available for like to purchase at retail price on Nintendo.com. And I picked up a bunch. And then some of these have not been available to purchase at like retail price basically since the minute they were released, right? Like the pre-orders sold out, and it was one of those things where you were like just refreshing the window and then like not getting them. So Mark, I ordered six amiibo.
Wow.
Me Gunner, me Brawler, me Sword Fighters. The Me Fighters.
Me Mark.
Okay, that's not me Patrick. You Jane. So I it feels a little weird to get like the Mii Fighters because it's like, who really cares about the Mii Fighters in Smash?
So what do these? I don't remember what these amiibo look like.
So they look like if you just like select
the generic
Miis. Yes, that's okay. Right. So but like they are iconic. I do like the Mii Fighters that I crafted on my own and that use either like the extra costume pieces like the Cuphead one or there's another one, Sans from Undertale. And those that I made to look like Andy Daly characters from his podcast pilot project. Those I love, right? But just the sort of generic ones. I was like, that feels more like a completionist sort of thing to have them in my collection.
Were these from the Wii U era? Like, were
yeah.
they? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Then I also got Dark Samus, which was the only Metroid amiibo that I didn't have. So it's from the Smash series still, but is like the only Metroid related amiibo that I didn't have. So that'll complete that. Here's an embarrassing thing: I've never had a Luigi amiibo of any kind.
Here, I think it says more about Luigi than it does you because I've never noticed.
Yeah.
All these episodes where we've used amiibo
I know
as stand-ins when we were doing rankings and stuff.
Right, you're never like, well, we need a Luigi for this one.
Never came
up. Sorry, dude. And then Ken. I've got Ryu from Street Fighter. I've just never had Ken. So I was like, Yeah. What the? Hey, I'm already spending almost $100. Why not spend over $100? Right?
Yeah. Anytime amiibo come up, first of all, I'm excited for your collection to grow.
Thank you.
Whenever amiibo come up, now, and the fact that Nintendo is reprinting these, I'm just really curious what's going on with amiibo, because
what is going on with amiibo?
At this point,
we have nothing.
We know of no more amiibo that could possibly be coming in the future. And I haven't clocked.
I guess not that could possibly be coming, but they've not announced any that have not been released.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. And then I haven't clocked in any of the Switch 2 rumors, if it's even rumored to have an NFC reader.
I don't know. I've not seen any rumors saying that it will or that it won't.
Yeah. I just wonder how long. There was a time where Nintendo was like, maybe like 10 years ago, where you could just expect there to be amiibo.
Right.
And that has just kind of like over the past couple of years not been the case. We kind of expected everything in Smash to get one.
Right.
Eventually did. And then otherwise, when is the last Splatoon 3? Maybe there's other ones, but like
I think the last like set of amiibo were. Well, did Sora come out after? I think Sora came out the end of the year, right?
But I was thinking like non-Smash related amiibo.
Yeah, those would probably be the Tears of the Kingdom amiibo.
Oh yeah,
right, because the Link one like launched at the same time, and then the Zelda and Ganondorf came later.
That's right.
But outside of the category that you were describing. Oh, and then there were the Xenoblade ones that I bought this year because from Xenoblade 3 because it was part of my buy everything that Nintendo puts out this year.
Yeah.
Packed. Neo, Mia, and Noah. Noah is one of them.
You could say anything, and I would
you're right.
But
yeah, so that's Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is I guess the real answer to that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Is Nintendo done with amiibo? Are they not done with amiibo? How long do they intend to keep reprinting amiibo?
Great question. And also, like, if they were going to do, is there one of their releases that we know about for this year that you think they should have done amiibo for? Like Princess Peach
Showtime.
Yeah,
could have been cool with some amiibo, or the amiibo would have been cool.
Right. Yes.
And all I'm gonna say is that before amiibo are end of lifed entirely.
Yes.
Nintendo, please make QB available in the United States.
Yes, we want that box boy. It's a good looking amiibo. He's just a block with
some
eyes,
little arms.
Yep. Very good. Also, Stanley the Bugman. Don't be a coward.
Oh yeah, do it.
I also don't know why they don't, and I'm sorry we're talking about amiibo so much. Why they don't like put out a Paper Mario amiibo that are like actually paper.
That'd be fun. Kind of like the Yoshi wool ones or like yarn ones that they did.
I guess the time would have been for Origami King to do like an origami like Mario amiibo.
Yeah, probably. I regret to inform you that Donkey Kong 3, I had to look it up, was released in 1983. So last year would have been a great anniversary for them to have done a Stanley the Bugman.
Okay, so you know that when we did our 2023 predictions, we talked about it being the 40th anniversary of Donkey Kong 3?
No,
And when we reviewed our predictions at the beginning of this year.
I genuinely don't remember any of that.
I mean, let it not be said that you and I waste a single opportunity to mention Stanley the Bugman.
Hey, we shoehorned it in here.
All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
The only new release that I wanted to shout out here comes out on Thursday, May 30th, and that's Picross S Namco Legendary Edition.
Yes, announced last week, which is kind of what they do with these Picross games. That they're like, yeah, it's ready to go next week, and then they reveal it, and it's available right away. But yeah, Picross S. The last time they did one of these was the Sega version, where all of the puzzle like solutions were sprites from classic Sega games. This is that same thing, but with Namco games. This is awesome. I mean, there are going to be so many deep cuts here and things that I don't know or recognize anyway. There is going to there will be things I don't recognize here, but that was also true with Sega. So yeah, who cares? Like every now and then I'll recognize a character and it'll be fun.
But other than that, nothing really stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point we can officially say that we are in pre-direct mode, right? Like there are probably some indie games or smaller games that are being held for simultaneous release with a Nintendo Direct. And also just like people games waiting to get like that moment of extra publicity before them going on a release calendar. So yeah, it's coming up sometime in June. We don't know when, and I feel like we are just in that, to say nothing of continuing to be like in the sort of Switch game desert where games are coming out, but they're things like Aster, Blade of the Monolith, or Umber Claw, like games I've never heard of before.
Right.
But yeah, all of this feels fine. We're just staying the course. We'll get to June. All right. Well, those are the new releases. Let's get into our next segment. And that next segment is 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein the performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo, so for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, let's talk about Mad Max.
You saw Furiosa this weekend.
I saw Furiosa, a Mad Max saga this weekend.
A Star Wars story.
With friend of the show, Greg Smith.
Who I'm not scared of.
Who Mark is terrified of. Greg and I saw Fury Road together as well many years ago. And so, yeah, we thought we would just talk a little bit about Mad Max.
How'd you like Furiosa?
I liked Furiosa quite a bit. I liked it more than I liked Fury Road.
Oh, that's awesome.
But keep in mind, and I know, like, whatever, Greg and I both walked out of Fury Road when we saw it, feeling uneasy, unsettled, feeling like our brains had been jumbled by the magic of the movies. And neither of us really cared for the effect that movie had on our bodies and our psyches. So my initial impression on Mad Max Fury Road was, I don't like this experience. Mm-hmm. I have since seen it at home in a like slightly calmer environment and have been like, okay, I recognize that this is a good movie. I always have a hard time washing away that initial impression of like, I feel physically ill after seeing it the first time.
I loved Fury Road.
I know this about it. Yes.
I haven't seen Furiosa yet, and I'm looking forward to it.
No spoilers here for Furiosa.
Right. It's funny going back to the older. Have you seen the older Mad Max movies, like Road Warrior
I've not
or Mad
seen
Max
any of them.
Beyond Thunderdome?
I know them as like cultural touch points. I make a Beyond Thunderdome joke in issue 4 of the Turtle source book. And it was a weird enough joke that my editor was like, should this be this? And I was like, no, it's that. It's from Thunderdome. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I think I've seen all of them. I can't remember if I've seen the Road Warrior, but I've definitely seen Mad Max.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen Thunderdome.
Right.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Beyond Thunderdome, yes.
And I haven't seen Furiosa yet, but it's so interesting, the jump from those like initial Mad Max movies to Fury Road. They're like, you can see the DNA, but maybe it's really just like movie making in the 80s versus movie making
in the aughts.
Well,
and also like after being informed by, because these are all George Miller movies, right? He directs them all. And like he also does the Happy Feet movies and Babe and Babe 2, right? So
Pig in the City.
Pig in the City. That's where the word pig wanted to go. And I do feel like some of the like kineticism of the Furiosa movies like borrow more heavily from his animated and like children friendly stuff than the original Mad Max movies, which I haven't seen.
Well, no, I think you're right. I also think it's interesting that Warner Brother keeps giving him seemingly tons and tons of money,
$168 million for this most recent
movies.
one. Yeah.
Because they don't really seem like. I mean, I loved Mad Max,
right?
Or Fury Road, but it's not a movie I'd like go with my parents to.
No, definitely not. Well, because the themes of Mad Max are so like, for as much as it is like the like motion and color and nonstop action of the first of Fury Road that unsettled me. The themes of these movies are also like just humanity at its absolute like perverse worst. So yeah, absolutely, it's tough to take a parent to these things.
I'm just curious. Like Fury Road was so kinetic.
Yes.
Like it was constantly on the move. It was basically one long car chase.
Right.
With just insane action all the time. Really, like is Furiosa, is the pacing similar, or is it a different type of movie?
No, it's a different type of movie. So there are
okay.
Well, I
I
guess we'll never know. Suffice it to say, it's more episodic.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at that. As to not give away too much more. You and I can talk after. We were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
For the first time since its announcement in May of 2021, Square Enix gave a very small update.
So small.
On the Dragon Quest III remake in the form of a teaser video that revealed neither the full name of the game or the release window. What the video did reveal is the game would, in fact, be coming to Switch alongside other platforms, which had never been officially confirmed before, just always assumed.
We've sort of taken it on as like, Dragon Quest III remake news is part of our show because we assume it'll be coming to Switch or whatever comes next. But yeah, no platforms were announced initially. Also, like, come on, you're making an HD 2D game and you're not putting it on Switch?
For like one of Japan's most beloved games.
On the only platform they're playing games on?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, did you watch this
I did.
17-second video?
Yes, I did deign to take 17 seconds out of my day to watch this teaser.
And all of this happened on like the Dragon Quest day, right? Which was Sunday, right? The 26th?
I think so, yeah.
Which is like, usually there's like some kind of something Dragon Quest. And we were like getting like late in the day before they rolled out this like teaser video.
And so the video shows the emblem of the hero and text appears that says "The legacy begins." And then the Dragon Quest logo also appears
in the upper left corner, and in the upper right corner the HD 2D logo. Which, have we seen this thing before?
The HD 2D logo?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't remember seeing it before.
It's interesting. It feels like what happened with the Nintendo DS, where it was a code name or something, and it's just become the brand name for what those games are HD 2D.
Yeah. One also, like, it's too succinct and too good. You gotta call it HD 2D. It's like the Jenny Nicholson video about the Star Wars hotel saying,
right, the name is the Galactic Empire, but everyone's
Galactic
just
Star Cruiser.
Star Cruiser,
right? But everyone's just gonna call it the Star Wars Hotel.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, so interesting that after 2 years of silence, this bubbles up, but provides almost less information than what we had originally, which was, when it was announced, it was the Dragon Quest III remake.
Right. And now they're not even saying that.
Yeah.
They're saying it's a Dragon Quest game. It has like Erdrick's logo there.
And the legacy begins.
Yes.
So what does this all mean?
Who knows? Moving on.
Rumors online suggest the following. So it'll come out before the end of this fiscal year, which I don't know when Square Enix's fiscal year is. So
I assume it's this. Let's just use the operating assumption that it's the end of March
of 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Supposedly we'll hear more about it in the June Nintendo Direct
coming up soon.
Which I could believe that this is maybe it's a holiday game.
I would believe that as well.
And then it is now Dragon Quest 1 through 3 HD 2D.
Right, because those are like they are a trilogy of games that all add up to like a singular experience. Does this make sense to you that it would be the first 3 games all kind of bundled together or like strung together in like one sort of like episodic thing?
I guess. I wonder if it will be like the um in one package, or they're gonna do like the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster it, where
That's good.
each one's
Yeah.
a separate purchase. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. What's so interesting is that like Square Enix, when they do these Dragon Quest remakes, traditionally they like kind of go all out, right? Like, um, uh, Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch and then on other platforms, is like a kind of from the ground remake of that game, right? But like there are even more extreme examples in the 7 and 8 remakes on 3DS, right? That they're just like really full featured, like all the graphics are different, everything has been upgraded. So like I wonder if they're going to not just remake an NES game. You know what I mean? Like or like roll 3 NES games into a single cohesive experience.
Well, especially because the original the Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior for the Nintendo Entertainment System is really really grindy,
Super grindy,
like really punishing. It's not that long. Do you think
even being super grindy, it's like a 9-hour experience? Yeah.
Do you think that they would like Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes this and put all 3 into like a single game?
That's what I'm thinking. Yes, but how is that what Twin Snakes did?
Well, I mean, instead of saying like you have a menu screen and you're choosing 1, 2, or 3.
No, that's exactly what I think. Yes.
The story of these 3 games and making it one singular experience that you play from start to finish.
That's what I think, and I think that like the Dragon Quest 1 portion of it will be the tutorial, right? That like you'll get through that in 90 minutes, because they'll take all like the grinding out of it, and you'll just have like the straight up experience there. Yeah, I mean that's my thought, is that they will find a way to like sort of compress these things into one experience that won't like kind of be 3 super long RPGs.
Yeah, I feel like well, maybe not hard part of that is, unless you're really reinventing it, how do you make it feel like 1 and 2 are not just the thing you have to play through to get to 3 in order to get to 3?
Yeah, it's a good question, but also like no one of these games is long enough to really justify selling as, right? Like again, they're all NES games. We're not even talking about like the remake of a Super NES game. So yeah, I mean they just got to be kind of smaller scale to begin with.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this ends up being. Dragon Quest 3 is a very beloved game in Japan.
Yep.
And so I'm sure whatever they're doing, they're treating it respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
All of those like rumors come from semi-trusted leaker Midori.
So yeah, yes. Great to point out. Those are just rumors or leaks or whatever. We don't know if any of it is true. All we know for sure is that this game does not have a name, and it has been confirmed for Switch and other platforms.
Series creator Yuji Horii also offered a minuscule update
so small
on Dragon Quest 12, which I think we also have not seen anything about since May of 2021, when they showed a brief teaser that
just
showed
a
no
logo,
gameplay.
Just a logo. But the name of a game.
Yes.
Right?
Well, Dragon Quest 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's more than we got for the Dragon Quest 3 remake just now.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Here's what Horii had to say about it. Quote, "There has been some worry about Dragon Quest 12, but I was actually in a meeting about it until just a bit ago." So they caught him walking out of a meeting.
He's still having meetings about it.
About Dragon Quest 12. And he continues, "While I can't share any details yet, I want it to be something worthy of the posthumous work of the 2, meaning Akira Toriyama and Koichi Sugiyama, who passed away. I'll do my best."
So there we go. They are aware of the sort of like optics of releasing a Dragon Quest game after the death of like 2 of the more iconic creators on the series. and that Yuji Horii is still having meetings about it.
Like neither. So Sugiyama was still composing music for Dragon Quest. Like he composed music for 11, and
some of the worst of his career.
It not particularly good, but he did contribute to it.
Yep.
And I don't think that, I could be wrong, but I don't think that Akira Toriyama had actively contributed anything to Dragon Quest for quite some time.
I have no idea.
Yeah. But I wonder if the speculation when 12 was revealed was that they were going to try to take it in a little bit of a different direction, maybe try to westernize it a little bit, whatever that means.
Right. Maybe now they've seen the performance of Final Fantasy 16.
Well, and I also wonder if with the passing of both Toriyama and Sugiyama, Yuji Horii or the people that are in making this game, I don't know. I wonder if there's now some like feeling that it should be more traditional or expected, to like pay homage to their work. I'm totally just making that up. I have no idea. I just wonder. Yeah. I wonder if that like factors into it at all. It is kind of crazy that Yuji Horii is of the three like Dragon Quest creators.
Yeah. No, it is like it's fascinating to like I guess I don't know if like how successful on the world stage in North America was 11, right? To sort of become a like breakout point for the series where like there are more Western fans of the series because of 11. And what 11 does is like go back to like strip it down to like sort of the most simplistic like Dragon Quest combat and like job systems and stuff like that. That like it is aggressively not reinventing the wheel. It's just doing a very nice, friendly, fun, polished version of itself. And like is that now what we the audience expects of Dragon Quest, right? And is it like a faulty premise to be like Dragon Quest needs to evolve and change and like 'cause, like I can see that argument for Final Fantasy, right? Where it's like Final Fantasy needs to be on like the bleeding edge of what an RPG even can be, and it needs to change itself up between entries, otherwise it's not being true to its identity. Is that not part of, or is that anti Dragon Quest?
Yeah, I that's the sense you get,
yes,
right? Is that Dragon Quest is such a beloved institution,
right?
That
and it's kind of like just give us that again.
Yeah,
yeah,
because it appeals to children
mm-hmm.
and it appeals who are maybe playing
Pokemon for sure,
like or like a full-fledged RPG for the first time.
Yeah.
But also adults who grew up playing Dragon Quest, and it's like I think 11 did a great job of being new and different but also feeling like a Dragon Quest game.
Yeah.
And do you ruin that by trying to chase an audience that just is not going to be interested in your game?
Yeah. Great point, great summation of that.
Nintendo has announced a new Nintendo store heading to San Francisco. Here's the language from the press release. Mm-hmm. Quote, Nintendo of America today announced plans to open an official store in San Francisco's iconic Union Square, providing a way for a wide range of visitors from near and far to experience the world of Nintendo, its products, and characters. The store, called Nintendo San Francisco, will open in 2025 as the second official location in the U.S., joining the store in New York City. Please stay tuned for more information as the new store opening approaches.
Very cool. I'm jealous. I wish it was opening here or like somewhere I could get to easily, like San Diego. Oh, it'd be so easy. Drive down 2 hours, a little bit more, get to San Diego. But yeah, cool that they're opening a second location.
Yeah, very cool in the US. A second location. I wonder. So I've actually never been to the store in New York, which is so silly because it's existed for so many years.
Right.
But next time I'm there, I definitely am going to make a point of going. Being fortunate enough to like see the ones in Japan, I'm curious how the New York one compares, because it's existed for a long time before they started opening official stores in Japan. And so I wonder if they share merchandise or what the deal is. And I wonder if the San Francisco store being built since they've started the store initiative in Japan will be more like those, versus whatever exists in New York right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, and also it's just like these Nintendo stores always seem to have just like products that only exist there, right? And just having another one of those makes me wonder, like, are we going to get like more interesting products, right? That will show up at all the stores or like location specific, and then like if it'll be like possible to like get them, like
Yeah.
I'm just it's cool to see Nintendo in an expansive mode, beyond just games.
It's also interesting. So there's the New York store, there's the ones in Japan, there will be the San Francisco store, but they don't have
Any
in
European
like Europe
stores?
or anything like that, right?
I mean, not to
Yeah.
my knowledge, but like the fact that we're able to like count the others makes me think that there probably aren't anymore.
Yeah, so maybe that's next. Maybe
right.
I mean, it seems like they're not moving at a very hurried pace.
right.
But yeah, maybe
Nintendo never does.
but yeah, maybe that is next. Maybe we see something in Europe in the future.
Yeah. I do think it's smart of them to be like conservative with that kind of growth, but I like them, growing at all. When are we planning our trip to San Francisco?
Oh my gosh, we have to grand opening.
Yeah, okay, great.
Let's do it.
2025. Yep, we'll be there. 2025. It's not that far from now.
No.
Of course, we don't know when this is going to open in 2025, but
but maybe we'll be heading up there to buy our next Switch hardware. We'll be there launch day. The store will be opening the same day. It'll just be complete madness.
That sounds like the most fun. What if they time the launch of the Switch to opening day of the San Francisco store?
Incredible.
Then we gotta go. I love it.
A Nintendo Live is heading to Australia later this year. It's going to be held at the Sydney Convention Center on August 31st and September 1st. Tickets will be required, and you can register for a chance to attend on the official website starting June 17th. It'll be a lottery system like it was when they had it in Seattle. Games, photos, photo ops, merchandise, daily appearances by Mario ambassadors Charles Martinet, and the Australia, New Zealand, Smash Ultimate, Mario Kart, and Splatoon 3 championships will all be held.
And we should not expect there to be any kind of like announcements or whatever coming out of this thing, right?
I don't think so.
Because there weren't for the one in Seattle not that long ago. Was it Seattle?
It was Seattle. So it was Seattle last year. They were supposed to be, and then also last year they had a Nintendo Live in Hong Kong and one in Seoul, South Korea, and none of those. They were all like 2-day. They did have some fun photo ops, some cool meet and greets with like mascot characters, merchandise and stuff like that. In fact, at least one listener of our Discord was able to attend the one in Seattle.
Yep,
and had a good time. Was able to play Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
That's right.
Demo for that.
That's right.
And so I would expect that whatever games are announced in the June Direct are probably available for demo there.
Those that would be coming out shortly thereafter.
And then, so this is the only Nintendo Live that's been announced for 2024. There was supposed to be one in January in Tokyo.
Japan,
but that one got canceled.
And like from some like threats that they'd gotten about it, right? And that like that person has since been arrested.
Yeah, that's right.
Not something we really talked about on here because it's kind of like a bummer and like, what are you gonna do? But I'm happy to see that they're like kind of just moving past that to like putting these events on again.
I was kind of expecting, in some ways, or at least we speculated, is it possible that Nintendo Live in Seattle would become a yearly thing?
Yeah.
Kind of, that one was like literally next door to PAX West.
Right.
And if you were an attendee of PAX West, you like had a special way of attending that was different from the lottery for everybody else. But
which is so weird.
But I looked it up, and that Nintendo Live was announced in April of 2023.
So we're probably past
So we're probably past it being at least happening in that same time frame this year. So yeah, I wonder if it was just like a one-off, or it was a one-off that they'll bring back. It's like the Nintendo World Championships that they did it last year. And then maybe next year with the Switch 2, they'll bring it back.
I mean, I think that may also be part of it, right? That like, whatever this must be I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. We are not going to see the Switch 2 around the end of August or early September. Maybe this is like the last event that like gets in before the like marketing machine for the next generation Nintendo hardware like kicks up and all of their events become about that. Because there will be a point here where they stop doing regular directs, where they stop doing a Nintendo Live or whatever, because all hands have to be on showing off this new thing and like convincing people that they need it.
Yeah. I was trying to remember the year in 2017 in the lead up to the release of the Switch. Did they?
Well, so 2017, there was not much of that year before the release of the Switch, right?
But what I was trying to remember is that did they have the
February
Direct?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, so you had the January reveal, you had the March release, and then probably June was the next like Direct where they talked about 3DS games that would be coming out. Because, Nintendo's not going to just completely drop support for the Switch once the Switch 2 is out. So there are going to be new
They've
Switch
just already done that.
Yeah, there are going to be new Switch announcements like continuing into next year.
Yes.
But you're right. We probably, I guess who
knows?
We'll know so much more once we begin to understand when we begin to understand the information rollout for the Switch 2.
I just feel like it's going to be so long. Like I think the windows between the June Direct, which we could have an announcement of that any day now, right? Between that and they announce Switch 2, I feel like that's got to be a couple months, right?
I think so, yeah. If not longer.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
All they've said is that they will talk about it before the end. They'll announce it before the end of their fiscal year.
Yeah, which is the end of March.
End of March.
According to the most recent sales data from Famitsu, the Switch is now the best-selling Nintendo hardware ever in Japan, surpassing the Nintendo DS. Famitsu has the Switch at 32,903,701 units. To compare, the DS sold, as tracked by Famitsu, 32,864,129 units.
So it's about 40,000 more Switches than DS's.
And still at least a year of runway.
Yep.
So interesting to see where it ends up.
I'm also curious if what they're going to call the next Switch, and if they're going to somehow like convince us all that it's still the Switch,
of like the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy.
Yeah,
where they're like, no, Nintendo, we're just the same. We're just tracking this all together.
And Game Boy Color didn't come out until what, like 96, 97, something like that.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe even later. So like, yeah, there's like a decade between Game Boy and Game Boy Color. So yeah, they could do that again here.
Splatoon 3's Sizzle Season 2024 kicks off on June 1st.
It's tough to say.
2 brand new main weapons are being added, as well as 6 new weapon variants, a bunch of new gear, a brand new stage called Lemuria Hub,
and
then
was that the name of Arya's direwolf, or?
Yeah, I think that was right. I've only seen the show, not read the book, so the direwolves are just a glancing part of that.
Now that's strange, because I had you pegged as a book guy.
I've read some of the books.
Okay.
I have not read...
And still you're going to try to pretend that you've not read the books?
I've not read the most recent one, which at this point was probably like, what, a decade ago?
Yeah, more, yeah, like about, yeah.
I think when the show started coming out, I read the books that were available when season 1 was released. All this to say is, yeah, I do think that was
the name of her direwolf. Right.
For Salmon Run, they are doing a big run.
Okay.
And during big run,
I'm interested.
All the previous big run stages are available to play, or will be available to play. I'm sure they'll rotate. All 3 King Salmonids will appear at the same time as the Triumvirate.
Cool.
And then a new rare weapon will be introduced, the Grizzco Roller.
This is all very exciting. It's enough to make me go back to play some Salmon Run, I think. Still kind of a bummer that the big runs don't take place in the like hub world, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because that was such a nice dream.
It sure sounded like that's what they were selling us, and then it was not.
It's just like modified regular stages.
Which is cool. That's cool.
It's fine.
It's fine. We're not mad. We are disappointed, though.
Finally, after recently getting updates themed to Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Run has gotten an update based on Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. The Thousand-Year Door missions can result in players getting 3 unique statues: a Paper Mario statue, a Goombella statue, and a Koops statue. And of course, they are all adorable.
You should check them out if you haven't encountered them organically during your daily plays of Super Mario Run. They're very cute. But mostly, I just want to talk about like what they woke up at some point and
Back
we're like
from the dead.
And we're like, you know what? You know what needs updates based on the games that are coming out right now? Super Mario Run.
I bet it was because do you remember man, when was it? Maybe like the after the end of last fiscal year when they did their financial results. So maybe that was like April or May, whenever they did that in 2023. They talked, or maybe it was even late last year. I can't remember. The important part is that in the last year, the financial presentations that they did, like the investor presentations, they talked about how the Super Mario movie not only raised the software sales of Mario titles on Switch, but also it was shown and was successful in countries where the Switch isn't even sold. But Super Mario Run
is available
because
everywhere.
It's on it's on phones, and so people that don't have Switch can still engage with Mario that way. And I think that is what woke them up to Super Mario Run, and they were like, "Oh, there's an opportunity for us to be marketing or introducing these things to people who don't have a Switch, and we can use Super Mario Run as a way to continue that connection after the movie."
Which is fascinating stuff because it's kind of like what they always wanted, right? That the games on the phone would be like a pathway back to games on the console. And the only problem was where Mario Run was concerned is that no one was playing it. Except for me, I played it all the time. I had one great Christmas with Super Mario Run. But it seems like it is actually happening now. It's just the route is a little bit more circuitous. It goes movie, run, back to Switch.
Yeah, because so many more people had to have seen the movie than owned the Switch. And tons of those were probably, we'll just say like kids who don't own a Switch.
Right.
But now Nintendo is seeding them. Hey, do you know that Super Mario Brothers Wonder, this game is out? Did you know that Princess Peach Showtime exists? Did you know that Thousand Year Door exists? You should ask your parents. You, as an adult, should buy the Switch so you can continue to play these games.
It's pretty smart. And like just like like everyone else who publishes games, I think are just more like sort of omnivorously everywhere, right? That like if you're going to put a game on the phone, it's kind of just like either a dumbed down or just like straight up version. Like you can play Sonic 2 on the phone, or just like other games just straight up on the phone. And that this has like this specific intent of driving you back to the Switch.
Yeah.
And especially when like, you can play not a ton of this game for free, but like certainly enough to like hand to a kid to download for free, hand to a kid and be like, here, you won't stop asking me about Mario. Here's some Mario for you to play. And then the phone is like, by the way, you should be playing these other Mario games.
Right. Yeah, it just took them 8 years to figure out how to fit Super Mario Run into everything else they want to accomplish.
Do you think there's a universe where this makes them reevaluate the mobile strategy?
That's interesting. It's such a footnote now in their like when they're talking about IP expansion and the different areas of the business that they're moving into, they don't even bring up mobile.
Right.
Like Heroes, Fire Emblem Heroes, I'm sure is just continuing to chug along.
Right.
With its gacha mechanic. And
then of course Pokemon is cleaning up, but
yeah. But like otherwise they've stopped doing
and Pikmin Bloom of course continues to make us fit and healthy and happy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Pikmin Bloom of course. But like otherwise all of their other games have either shut down or stopped doing content updates.
Right.
Like Pocket Camp. And so I don't know, or maybe they're just happy having that run out there because it exists
right
in perpetuity. People can buy it for $10, and then the people that are picking it up.
Okay, but let me just run this past you quick. The Mario movie, huge hit, right? Possibly not replicatable with other Nintendo IP, but they are obviously going to try with a Zelda movie, right? Who knows when the Zelda movie comes out? Could be, you've said 2028, like jokingly on the show in the past, and that could be accurate. But should they not have a Zelda iPhone game, like just like ready and sitting and waiting there?
Weren't there rumors that that a Zelda mobile game was in development?
I don't remember. Could be.
I remember because there was a while where like every 6 months we were getting a new Nintendo mobile release during the dark days of the Wii U, like the end of the Wii U before the Switch was released and proved to be a success. We were getting like every 6 months or so a new Nintendo mobile game, and I think the Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg or somebody reported that Zelda was one of the franchises that was going to have a mobile game based off after it, which of course makes sense, and of course it should have been Tingle related,
of course.
But that didn't end up happening, and probably because as soon as the Switch took off, they were like, "See you in hell, mobile games. We never wanted to do this in the first place.
We can sell 18 million Zelda games on Switch, thank you."
Yeah, and so it is interesting. Yeah, but to your point, do they miss out on that same cycle that helped Mario? Because people go see the Zelda movie, they're really into it, but they live in a country where the Switch is not available.
Or they're a kid or whatever.
And they do not have that Super Mario Run analog. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe we will.
And then you just do tie-ins to the Zelda games that are available on Switch 2 or Switch 3 or whatever is happening in 2028.
Yeah.
It just like they are noticing something here. And I feel like they won't want to miss that same cycle when they put the Zelda movie out.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Weird little footnote here that I'll just read from like that press release about Super Mario Brothers Run, the 1,000-Year Door mission. Link your Nintendo account for more fun. You'll be able to unlock paid stage for free if you link Super Mario Run with your Nintendo account, the same one you use on Nintendo.com, on your Nintendo Switch system or with other smart device apps from Nintendo. Stages 2-2, 3-1, and 4-1, which are all part of the event, will be selected more often while it is active. So now they're like, if you link your Nintendo account to Super Mario Run, I don't know if they've done this as part of like previous events, but they are. This is another thing where they're pushing those Nintendo accounts that we know are so important because they started this company with DNA called Nintendo Systems Co. So there's like just another thing here that it's another link to the Nintendo consoles of the future that are going to rely on this Nintendo account.
Yeah, you're so right. They've talked so much about how important Nintendo accounts are to like maintaining a customer base, especially when you're coming from something like when we were talking about earlier in the episode, the Switch becoming the best-selling piece of Nintendo hardware of all time in Japan, and possibly by the end of the Switch's run, it will have overtaken the PlayStation 2 as the best-selling video game hardware ever. What do you like? Kind of the only place for you to go is down.
Totally.
Right? Like it would be very, very, very hard for Nintendo to. They've never done it historically for this next hardware to reach the peaks of the Switch, and so.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're just looking at home consoles, it is a downward trajectory with one boost for the Wii, right? And then like the Wii U resumes the downward trajectory from the GameCube, right? So like if we were graphing them just without the Wii in there at all, it would just be like every single Nintendo system sells worse than the last until the Switch, which changes everything.
Right. And so so having like Nintendo accounts, having all these different levers, having these different things seemed like it'll be really important when this next generation rolls around.
Right. So this is one of my like long-reaching predictions. Zelda mobile game incoming.
I love that.
In like 3 years.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, if you're not in our Discord, you should be. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will send you an invitation. Then you can come in there and chat with us all you want. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.